With Tony Abbott as Prime Minister visiting in 2014, we were in the Forbidden City. I think it was a Saturday afternoon.
Few Australians have had quite such a front row seat on Australia's rapidly evolving relationship with China.
Mr. Carr's visit has been carefully choreographed.
General, hello.
As ambassador to Beijing from 2011 to 2015, as a prime ministerial advisor, then as head of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, the last decade of Francis Adamson's career has been dominated by the new superpower.
12 o'clock, is it?
Yep.
Okay.
When she leaves her current job this week, she will be leaving a diplomatic world that has changed significantly since she began working in the department in 1985.
Francis Adamson, thanks for talking to us today, and congratulations on a stellar diplomatic career. The world has changed and the way we communicate has changed. How has that changed the job of a diplomat?
I think it's made it both easier and more complicated in some respects, because the traditional diplomatic tradecraft, if you like, the things that are hundreds of years old, the sending of third-person notes, and those things still happen. But on the top of it, of course, you've got social media, you've got the ability for leaders to text each other directly, and they do, or to pick up the telephone and call each other directly without the use of the White House assistance, operations, Downing Street switchboard, any of those things. They can just do it.
Those interactions between leaders have also changed with COVID.
I think last year Prime Minister Morrison had over 130 conversations with or video conferences with counterparts. Now, for a country like Australia, that was a tremendous levelling of the playing field, because otherwise we've got to get on a plane and travel very long distances.
Is there sort of some trademark of Australian diplomacy that's different from the way other people work around the world, do you think?
One of them, I think, and we really emphasise the importance of this, is an ability to listen. Particularly in our own region, you really have to work hard to avoid breaking a silence, finishing someone else's sentence. Just listening, feeling comfortable with extended pauses is something that I think we can and do. It's not always done well by those from outside the region who aren't as familiar with it as we are.
In a region where Australia has often been regarded as a European outsider, or even at risk of becoming the poor white trash of Asia, Adamson has seen a major shift in the willingness of Southeast Asian nations to engage, motivated by China, but also by a changing view of Australia.
ASEAN's absolutely central to the future of the Indo-Pacific. I see them reaching out to us as much as we're reaching out to them. And I think a moment that I would mention was the 2018 ASEAN-Australian Summit, which Malcolm Turnbull hosted in Sydney.
We want to have a region where the big fish do not eat the little fish and the little fish the shrimps.
I was in what was called the listening room as a senior official at the dining room at Admiralty House, just listening in, and I was really struck. This is a real discussion between leaders who are bringing a real sense of their country's interests and a real sense of appreciation of what Australia's doing, and a willingness to continue to work with us in deeper ways to help secure that mutual objective.
So we're sort of entrenched in the region at last.
Yeah, look, I think so.
Recent comments by Home Affairs Secretary Mike Pezzullo, warning that the drums of war were beating, drew criticism that foreign policy has been hijacked by the nation's hawkish intelligence community.
What would your response to that be?
Look, I don't agree with it, obviously. I mean, I'm in the rooms where the discussions take place, and I think we've, as a nation, needed to respond to more challenging strategic circumstances. It's a tremendous time for diplomacy. There's a real need for diplomacy to be in the forefront of our responses. We're the sharp eyes, the attuned ears, and the influential voice of Australia overseas.
The wisdom of Australia going on the front foot in criticisms of China, including over the origins of COVID, has also been questioned.
I do think that it would have not been responsible for an Australian government to let these things go by without seeking to address them.
So you don't accept the view that the wheels have fallen off the Australia-China relationship, for example?
No, absolutely not. I think we're engaged in a longer-term debate, discussion, determining of what our bilateral relationship is going to look like. But obviously that won't happen until China decides it's ready. And when they do, it won't just be because of Australia, it will be because they're hearing from a broad range of countries that actually each one of them has their own interests that they want to seek to defend, and they're not prepared to pay a price and be beholden to somebody else.
Adamson's fluent Mandarin and postings in Hong Kong and Taipei, as well as Beijing, have given her a particularly acute view of the Chinese and how they see themselves as much as a view of our relationship.
And I think the longer you work with the Chinese and come to understand them, you can see that there is an insecurity. And to some extent, what Beijing's looking for is a regional order centred on Beijing, where countries make their own decisions, not just in the light of their own national interests, but factoring in what Beijing would like them to do.
This is the Chinese Navy, this is the Chinese terror sky. Please go away quickly.
I think there is no reason why the Chinese people shouldn't feel confident to take their place as a major power in the community of nations, but to do so in a way that absolutely respects the rights of smaller countries. That's their language, but if you look at it in practice, in the reality, that's not what happens. And all of us, particularly in the Indo-Pacific, we want those things, all of us actually, to be settled in accordance with international law, with rules, with norms, not on the basis of the exercise of power.
Thanks so much for talking to us.
Pleasure, Laura.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.